like a light gray. I can't go any darker
Not sure.
because then it's harder to see the
Fuck the
numbers.
inside that.
And Harold and Rich and I reviewed a lot of numbers relative to the problem areas with the sewage permits and the due from third party, which are reimbursable lines. I had been redirected, so we have to clean that up. But I think it's done, unless you have some questions or.
No, we just gotta see what we're doing.
I think Dennis has some stuff for you.
Talk about the alarm stuff a little bit. That's all I have.
Yeah, because we
Unless
had
you,
that before.
unless the board has questions of me on anything.
No, I finished everything last meeting. Make sure your section is correct, make sure.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, good.
I know, but I look every time I open the report now, when I have to go in and do stuff, so I go down and make sure your notes are there, so I know I have the latest version.
No, I don't know.
Because I added, and above yours on 409, I added in the thing,
Jeff.
building parking fee, driving.
Sharon, how are you?
I can see you today, so.
And then you're obtaining quotes, so that's where you're saying you're gonna talk about a line,
Sunday,
right?
I see you.
It
Yeah, so,
is-
and we got one number says each section.
Oh, I'm sorry,
The
okay, so
police-
it's
No, actually, that'll be about a wash. So it's gonna go up.
500.
The police.
So when you go across in the notes, what's there, just think over high enough, I think.
The other question is, are we gonna
Right,
get
so
something down
so
there?
go straight over, in the notes, the stuff
Well,
we
that-
talked about, I
that-
added to
I
the
mean,
notes.
Uh,
So that's where that alarm, so hopefully it's
Vice President, can
within
we squeeze anything out of the transfer station if it ends up going in?
other stuff. And Harold was getting quotes on the drive, I thought he was saying driveway, I'm like, what's wrong with the driveway? And then
Yeah,
he said, no, drive it.
I know about Meister, but he hasn't gotten back to me. For
And I
driving.
didn't hear back from EMC about Galen either for next year for workman's comp as the emergency management
I guess
coordinator.
we'll just go page by page quickly again, like we did, as long as there's nothing in the first, it's all contractual nonetheless, then we got the grade stuff on the second. And grade stuff on the. Did you open the changes in the report? I mean, it shouldn't take long. Of course, the longer we're here, then they won't see the fellow screw it
Oh,
up.
I do not. We're not gonna be here.
Pump the brakes.
You gotta be prepared for to disappointment. And then when it happens,
Yeah,
you're like, I thought so, doink, and you just turn it off, and then you're like, okay, thought so.
Or in my case, if I hit that point, it's go to bed.
And 11:30,
Chris
yeah.
falls asleep.
Right, so.
He doesn't see the version of
That
these
number.
Now, if it's a quick, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, you know.
4,000.
And then we have to advertise, right, we have to have 30 days.
If we adopt it today, yeah.
I'm just saying like what the process is, I'm just reiterating.
If we, agree and do it, and we fill in, then it's 30 days, and then you have.
So that's
30
everything
days,
in
and then
three
it's the end
left.
of November, then people
Alright, so it's
comment.
11,000 more. Oh, no, that's right. That it
Right,
was
we advertise
actually,
the whole thing,
Yeah, but then they
Okay.
can, then they can make comments at the workshop or.
they
but we
projected
won't
it
make
to
it for
93
November,
based
it's
on
30
budget.
days, that's why I was asking,
That's
so it
how
would
it
be
is.
the December meeting.
What
I
line?
think that's what we usually do.
Yeah, normally there's miscellaneous stuff and then we do November and then some, last time years, it was the last meeting in December.
Okay, so we're good, so if you guys want things changed, we have time to do that.
Right.
How you doing? Good. Alright, so
Conducting business.
that's much more than the 5%.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the new rate, Harold,
Yeah, they sent me, I asked her to send that to me after she said she couldn't make the meeting tomorrow. I just have a chance to open it.
so is it more, it's 5%, what, more than 5%?
Oh, yeah, yeah, we're
Because
talking.
we were talking, so Elliot comes off, but Ketter will go on. And even though he's single, it's only a little bit less than what the
You're not
married, because
talking
Elliot
about-
was married.
Yeah, you're not talking a huge difference there. The difference is when he ran the numbers here, Harold ran them, he said, what about $1,000 more?
Yeah, between $1,000 depending on what it is.
800,000, so with that in mind, you're looking at close to $11,000 over budget. You're looking at about $11,000 increase over budget.
So, let's see.
And that's on the current plan, I haven't looked at the rest of them, but I don't wanna, I'm gonna assume that the plans that would be less expensive are not what we want, so you take a step back.
Gotcha. Well, keep in mind, we're adding together the health and 410s, the health, vision, and dental, but that's still only 96,000, what we budgeted for.
Well, yeah, and that's not gonna, this is just their
Okay.
high mark, so. Does this include everything, Harold? Or-
Just Highmark, health, and vision. It does have vision on there.
Okay, so just the
Yeah, but
dental.
it's a separate item for.
Oh, it's not on your list, gotcha, but when we coded in here, it's
Yeah.
billed with the Highmark.
Okay.
United Concordia is separate as dental.
But the 410 140 should be, at least 100 of that one.
I said, I'm glad you're here, thank you.
I said, we were looking for Mikey last night, he's
He's cruising.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he's coming back and then going again.
We're not cruising, we're going to Hatteras.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just left Saturday.
Where'd they go? I remember him telling me.
They're gonna do the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing Southern Panama Canal to do before the river, the one with never did that, they're doing Southern Panama Canal, coming out of Panama Canal and doing Caribbean down there.
You going?
No, not my in-laws went Saturday.
Just say I'm a good doctor.
Yes. No fancy vacations. They get to say they left, I think it was Saturday at 3 AM because there's supposed to be something, but then whatever plane they're supposed to be on was delayed.
Okay.
5 or 6 o'clock on Saturday night, they called, so they were still sitting in the airport.
Oh.
So getting there like 3 or 4 in the morning,
Oh.
and then by PM, the plane still hadn't left Florida. Now they luckily have given themselves like an extra day, because like you can't like be delayed for 12 hours.
And function.
And then you think you're gonna get your connectors and then get the cruise, and of course the cruise isn't gonna say, oh wait, we gotta wait for those 4 people.
Poor people. Yeah. Right.
Hold on, we can't go anywhere.
We did a trip in June, beginning of July for my son's graduation present, and we leave at 6:30 out of Philadelphia, and then we get to Italy at like 9 AM. Like, oh my God. A sleeping day.
Where you going in Italy?
What's that?
Where you going in Italy?
Oh, we're going to we're there for 15 days, we're going to 7 different cities.
Nice.
We're just gonna go all, just do a tour, you know.
Yeah.
We're staying.
Cinque Terre at all? Or no, that's the, Cinque Terre is, it's like the Riviera, but it's the Italian Riviera. Much different than the French Riviera, let me tell you. It's not. Cinque Terre is really cool. It's a series of 5 villages basically built into the cliffside.
Oh, okay.
Really neat. I don't know if that's one place, the other place, Rome's neat to see.
Yeah, we're starting and ending there.
Okay.
I'll bring it up then, it's like all the way around, you know,
Yeah.
so.
There's a lot of places I haven't been.
Pretty cool.
Mostly Germany and Austria.
Yeah, we're staying 2-3 days in each place probably, you know what I mean? I think it's what comes out today.
Nice. They give you enough time to explore too,
Yeah.
you're not gonna run. I don't have
Well, I kind of, took the number we have down and divided it by 8 because it's usually until August. That's how I took the number.
past 4 months.
Okay, this year to date is only, January through August.
So, but this number here,
That's a month.
that's per month.
Yeah, it's, there's been a lot more construction going on there. And this is only an estimate, so it assumes, like a 5% gain, that may or may not be realized, so this is the number we're really working on, which is projected for next year. No, well, it's all set by fee schedule, I mean, you can't charge more than the fee schedule without coming back to the, you know what I mean?
I think we're gonna fill it.
Yeah, well, it comes back to what you said about checking our
Awesome, cause now we'll have
fees.
more space and then
Right.
it takes. That's what I was looking at. Previous years, a lot of times the auditors, like Teamsters came in and audited for payroll for the year. They went back 3 years. So I,
Yeah, so
you know, so I
that's
started
what,
using that
8200,
storage
so it's
closet,
$800
there's
more a
much
month.
junk in there.
It's 87.
So it's 74.54.
I don't even think you have the attention schedule.
And that's just my guess, that's on the call.
Santa.
Oh, no,
Why not?
I didn't know.
Printers and faxes.
Okay, which email was that?
Didn't have any.
That was the one that he did.
He sent something.
Oh, but he-
Their account something.
Oh, but no, that we did, about the stuff about,
And all that, yeah.
for like, if we, negotiation stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He knows.
Oh, he knows,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we can talk about it too.
Well, I didn't initially respond to that. She emailed me like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, what's the, there's no update, we're having a meeting. And I'm like,
Right, whatever they figure out in the meeting.
Right, exactly.
So there's no update because there's a meeting.
Right. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Very good. All right, we will call October 24th, budget meeting to order, and to the clock, we first to the pledge of allegiance and moment of silence for all military personnel. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
You know what I didn't hand out? The agenda.
You will be lost.
It's really not much on it. Okay, so I'm already done.
Thank you.
Yep. You would have been lost without it, how would you have run it?
Thank you.
There you go, I looked at every one. Would you cover me, please?
We'll review page by page, and there's a couple of great things we talked about before, but we've done this a few times. Anything different on page 1, most of that is really not changing with taxes unless we change chapters. Anybody have any questions, thoughts, comments on page 1? If not, I guess we'll. Page 2, so we have a couple of great things there, 361s.
And that's the due from third party we talked about. So I allocated to the reimbursable plan engineer and solicitor. And down below, the sewage permits and sewer subdivision related, we're only gonna use the sewage permit line So I think we should add more to that, but I was waiting to get your input, because we're not doing the other line, which was budgeted for 35. And we're only at this point, a year end of 30,000. So do you think we should make that 30? Or leave it at the 20, because we don't know how many, sewage permits we're gonna get for the year. If you look back, it's varied, 57, 38.
We're only at $20,237 this year.
As of August 31st.
362,440.
Yeah, the gray ones, we talked to the gray ones.
Gotcha. The only thing I can say to that, if, Lion Homes subdivision comes online and they start doing that, what potential impact is that gonna have?
So that's a sewer. So it's not gonna, it's gonna take a different life. Because you don't have to do perk and pull.
No,
It's strictly hook up to the sewer.
you still gotta fill in the form for DEP.
Right. So
That's
whatever
sewer rather than,
whatever that permit fee is, that's all they're gonna really pay. And the line that's in there has already been inspected. So I'm not exactly sure, we were trying to figure out what that number would look like, and our guesstimate is somewhere between $500,000. But
yeah, I know, it's tough to tell.
Right.
You're looking at a crystal ball, and that's why I brought it.
and then it's what, 54 homes?
Something like that.
Yeah, so,
I doubt they'll all be built in 1 year.
well, I agree, but even if they built them all in 1 year and it was, say, 500, it's 25 grand.
Yeah.
So we go up to 25,000 for that, it's not up to 30, but 25, if it's more than that, then what's bonus?
Yeah, I don't think it falls into the same criteria as revenue. Anything with the expenses over 10%, you have to redo the budget.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's up to you guys.
Would we change that to 25,000?
I have no
Okay.
problem doing that, it might be prudent.
Anything else on page 2?
No.
Alright, then on page 3. There's some, obviously some gray stuff down there. Anybody have any comments on this page, since a lot of this is, we've talked about this already, but anybody have any questions, thoughts?
I don't make any assumptions on salary increases, again, without evaluating our staff and employees. I'm not sure how this board in good faith, can give any raises or bonuses, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you gotta figure out a schedule for doing that.
Well, we already talked about it. Or the budget is always, we talked about that, budget's always in the fall, you start summertime.
So one of the things that I'll share with you here is I'm gonna implement in the early start of the year, or the early part of the year, is an evaluation system. And that needs to really be executed by, when I say executed, completed by August 31st of any given year, which allows us to then manage this better in the budget. So we'll probably start evaluations, we'll have a 3-month open period where the evaluations are done, they're reviewed, they're submitted to the next higher person in the chain to take a look at, to make sure that, we're dotting our i's, crossing our t's, and to make sure there's a what I would call a senior reviewer. And that's just a check and balance on the system, make sure that we're all staying in line. So we're gonna do that. I have not decided on a form, that's gonna just take time to do it, but we'll make that happen. And that will hopefully then, Tim, that'll hopefully give you then the opportunity to say, hey, as we get into the budgeting process, where do we wanna be with this? I think in the meantime, the presumption, I understand it's an open presumption, but I think when we do this, when we get into the budgeting process next year at this time, you'll be able to say, hey, this person rates a 3%, 4%, whatever it may be. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, thank you.
One of the other comments also, I guess, is this your first meeting?
It is, sir.
Okay. Well, previously, this is not a reflection on you, but previously, at other public meetings, I had raised some issues with respect to our manager's duties and responsibilities. Some things that, in my opinion, are not needed and haven't been handled properly, particularly as it relates to hiring and firing. So as you get your feet wet, so to speak, I would hope that we take that with a grain of salt. And I look forward to making some changes within that ordinance. I don't know how my colleagues feel. It's not something that, I've had any opinions from them. However, it's been a problem. Part of the budget problem has to do with, in my opinion, unwise firings, unwise hiring, and that's led us to, frankly, the cost of a couple $100,000, in my opinion, and that's hard to make up in a budget.
Anything specific on page 3 for anybody to change? And page 4, then there's a couple changes there, and
That's also what that due from third party. Those are the revenue line, the expense lines versus the revenue lines.
anyone have any specific things there? If not, we can go to page 5. Other things in 409, 400, and 409, 500. That we discussed about changing some things the other night.
Well, the 400 had to do with some commercial property that, the sewer, part of the commercial sewer was billed to the general fund, so we took care of that, that's why that number went down. And then the rest is Dennis.
Okay, don't comment on the 500, relative to the alarm system. I had received one quote back, still waiting on another. That was from our current provider, ATS, Alarm Tech Systems. And for our alarm in the police department, they quoted us $1,397. That was actually in the budget for this year, 2023.
What number is this on your line item?
We're at 500. We're at 409, 500. That's where I think they have it listed.
Yes,
The alarm system was actually,
Right now.
when it was approved in the police budget, it was actually approved under capital purchases minor, under the 410s. And that money still is there. So then there's a 480 monitoring fee per year. The DVR upgrade, they quoted us $2,197. And what the reason for that DVR upgrade is it'll work with our current camera system, but it'll also work with better technology cameras. So what that affords us is the ability to not have to change all of our cameras at one shot, which obviously would be very expensive. We could change cameras as they go down, or just budget a couple cameras a year to make it a little bit more economical, friendly for the budget. So that was the purpose of that. And they quoted us $797, and that's for a good quality camera.
How many camera systems is it?
7 right now in the PD. Yeah, we have 7 cameras here in the PD. And the township, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. With the proposal, it would be, I guess, 5, I believe. Because the proposal for the township was 2 additional exterior cameras. And that was included in the email that I sent to the board today, all 3 proposals.
That DVR is expandable, then we can add.
Correct.
Is it unlimited? Is it?
I don't know, I'm sure it's not unlimited, I'd have to find out, but.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how many terabyte is it?
Yeah, that I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it actually states that.
Most of them have planned for a 30-day write-over.
Yeah, yeah. I just didn't, I didn't know if it's like, like the one I have at home, I have a DVR system with my cameras, I can connect 16 cameras.
That's the way it is.
Right, yeah.
16 cameras,
Okay.
20 terabyte.
20
20
terabyte.
terabyte.
20
Yes,
terabyte hard drive.
that's probably gonna run a couple months.
Yeah. And then just overwrite
Right.
the earliest ones, yeah.
So that was that proposal. So ultimately, just wanted to bring it up since obviously we're budgeting. We can wait for the second quote to see what that comes in at, and then, you know, we could take action on what's actually budgeted this year at the November meeting. Or if you wanted to go off of these numbers and put something in the budget, you know, it's the board's pleasure.
The only thing about that line item is I was trying to get hold of somebody, in regards to the driver repair,
Mm-hmm.
and I've not been able to do so yet, so I'm not so sure what we could add to that. You know, if nothing else, maybe we'll have to do a carryover till next year.
Looking through that, we have 1996 budgeted for Blansky, $1.925. I'm assuming that's to keep the furnaces, serviced. I don't know if that's high or low, but it seems like, you know, from what I'm used to paying for a residential service on a oil furnace, it seems high. I don't know, maybe that's just me, maybe things have gone up that much.
What number are you on, Galen?
It's a note.
It's the notes of 409.
409,500.
But I think that includes our building and the police building.
Yeah, I can
And
see.
somewhere else, like maybe
We
this.
gotta find out what that's really about, because we've converted to gas.
Yeah.
So there's nothing really to do with a gas burner if it's not, yeah, change
Filter
filter.
change, yeah.
So we should probably take a look at that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, if I just saw it and it scratched my head. Is there anything that's well fired here anymore, is everything gas here also?
Gas.
All gas?
Yeah, I think the only place that has oil is down at the sewer plant. And that's only for the heating the crap up. The building itself is gas.
Okay.
Do we wanna keep 20,000 there though?
Is that the slightly different?
Yeah, I think we need to keep 20,000 there. And that way, if we get some driving estimate that comes in at 10, we got room to put it.
I think this estimate, that Blansky estimate, I think that was something that, what's his name that brought in here? Well, just,
No, he was in before then. They were in before then.
were they?
Yeah, yeah. But I can pull their agreement and see what all it covers. There's a whole list, and they come in and service. They
Yeah,
go up on the roof. I don't watch what they're doing, so I can't say exactly. I'm not an HVAC person, but they
well, if they're
come.
taking care of the air conditioning and the heating, it may not be so bad because you've gotta monitor the freon charge and stuff on the compressors and what have you. There's some maintenance there,
But Rich and I can talk about it, maybe get some other quotes. I'll show him, I'll pull the agreement for him tomorrow so he can review it and see
Yeah.
exactly what we're getting for our money, and if we wanna get some other quotes, sure.
it's one of those cushy jobs that somebody can charge you a lot for. That's the only reason, if all you do is changing filters. You know, a monkey can do it.
So for the camera system, we can wait until we receive that second. I can do a little bit of a push to try to get that second estimate. If we only have the ATS, the ARC stars, so we're good to go there. The other building, as far as Boomtown, would be the 797, so you're looking basically $1,600 down there for the 2 cameras. If I would move forward in November, if the board would grant me that at the November regular meeting, for what I would take out. Far as next year carryover, I would be looking at the security system about $3,500. So, not the $3,500 is nominal, but it's kind of nominal.
Just a
Yeah,
question, Dennis, kind of a little bit off the subject here, but you mentioned the gas pumps and things. Who is our person now, that's the training person that's supposed to be teaching people how to pump gas? Colleen was doing some of that, and she's gone, and I don't know if we miss putting somebody back in to take that position, or you have someone in your department?
I do it for my department, and it was Butch. So the other building would either have to send somebody for that training, or I can do it for the building as well, until somebody else gets certified.
Yeah, you said it brought an L in my head, and I was just trying to make sure we were covered.
Yeah, so the far as the reports, the meter root reports, that's housed by Public Works. So what I do is I do that monthly, and then I scan it and forward it down via email. That way they have it, or I'll drop it off, depending. And, so I keep up on that, but I have a PowerPoint as far as the training, and I usually include that with my guys once a year, just to keep up with it.
Okay.
The biggest thing is to make sure the equipment's out there, the spill equipment, the fire extinguisher is good, which we have the fire extinguisher inspections through ATS already.
And a spill kit.
Yeah, and the spill kit, that's the big thing, just making sure that's why we got the, actually, I believe this year we purchased that, the new spill kit for up there because we needed to step that up a little bit, so we're good to go.
Okay, anything else on page 5?
The other thing that's in the gray on page 5 was the discussion that we had about, the corporal position. So that was just in there so that it would be reflected on the file numbers.
And that's in the way you want it,
Yeah, that's correct, sir.
on this draft?
Yes, sir.
You have that included in here, is that number all right, or we?
That number is correct. That number assumes the 5% increase as well, so that's all factored in. It's basically almost a straight split from patrolman to sergeant is what it is. It was, I believe, I have my paperwork here. I think it was $2,599.08 increase.
Is that something that's gotta go through the CBA that?
That is correct. That was the one thing that I did stress that it would have to, part of the negotiating committee and then the association would add that. Let me double check here, yes. So the good thing was Sheila did reduce the patrolman's salary, because with the corporal position, obviously the patrolman's salary goes down, and that changes in there as well.
Chief, do you have a salary increase this year?
So yes, I do. Just to fully explain that, full disclosure, is I estimated 5% for all the officers. Obviously, that's open because it's in negotiations. I put a 5% for myself, keeping it in line. However, I waive my right to the Chiefs Act, which means you can give me the same, you can give me more, you can give me less, you can give me nothing. Okay, so I always like to throw that out there, so I'm totally honest with the board.
The last several years, Chief, what increases have you had?
I was always in line. I think the one year I had a bit more than what the officers had. One of the supervisors made a motion, but the last couple of years it's been in line with what the officers received.
You're satisfied with that?
Yes, sir.
What about the extra time that you're putting in?
The extra time, sometimes I do grab it on the pay period, so what I try to do is like, for example, last pay
I don't mean
period.
the extra paid time, I'm talking about the unpaid time. That's substantial.
Yeah, I try to minimize that as much as possible, but I don't get paid for it, I don't get comp time. The only thing I do is if I'm able to, I'll take off a Friday, the last Friday of the pay period, to get back some of those hours. But like I took off last Friday, for example, and I still believe I had like 82.75 for the pay period.
Provided the Praxis doesn't screw things up for you.
Yeah, well, between that and then when I get activated for B-Cert, and then just stuff here, extra meetings, and then there's some days here that, an 8-hour day that I had planned turns into a 12-hour day. It's one of those things. You're here, what you do what you gotta do.
But you're basically satisfied.
Yes, sir.
Are you satisfied with those numbers, Timmy?
I'm satisfied for his 5%. The other's unknown at this point.
Yeah.
So he'll get the 5% no matter what.
All right, anything else on page 5? And now we're on page 6. And that's
Yeah, page 6, based off of new information, I think that line item ought to be bumped to 104,000.
Which one?
410, 140. 410, 140.
You said 104, Harold?
104.
93.
The reason for that is we got the current plan membership, it's effective, 1 January, is one to 87.19 a month, plus another 62 on top of that for the vision. So, you're looking at a $1,300, almost $1,400 a month increase over last year's rates. For current plan.
anything else on this page?
Well, only if their vision went up, that means that vision number should go up as well. So it's $72 a month.
Oh, that's how much more it is?
Now, 6261 is the vision, is what it is currently.
62, 61. So that should be 751.
Okay, so that's about
Should
$100.
be what?
So
That's not quite $100 on the,
Well, no, they
$300,
For the-
I'm sorry, $300.
yeah,
Yeah, almost $300 for the vision.
so I guess we'll make it 760 just so we deal with round numbers.
That's 410,141,
Yes.
700, 660.
Yeah, should make it 760 for the proposed budget. And we just make a note that's based on what we received today from Highmark.
Alright, and I guess nothing else on 6, then we have 7.
Page 7, the gray area for the capital purchase, for the, I call it capital purchase major, but it's capital purchase. What we did there was we added the maintenance into that payment, so the budget would reflect the cost of the lease for a year, plus the fee that the bank charges, and also $2,500 maintenance for that vehicle for the year. Now, obviously, like I stated last meeting, I applied for a grant for 2 vehicles, so if we receive that grant, obviously, the big portion of that 19.5 goes away. We would just need to keep, roughly 5,000 for 2 vehicles for maintenance out of that, and then the rest of it would be there not to spend unless something else popped up, I guess, that we needed to do. And that lease payment that I factored in there, that's the vehicle, the upfitting, decal, that's everything. That's to get it on the street. And as far as the other 2 vehicles, question that wasn't proposed, but just somebody might think of it later. I do have 2 extra radios in-house here, so we do not have to buy additional mobile units to go in those vehicles. We have them from the old evidence unit that we had, and then our fleet was 1 vehicle higher back on that day. So we maintain them radios. We bought the radios for that evidence fleet, even though we shared it with Birdsboro. We had bought that radio initially, so I already have the radios for that. So we wouldn't have to bear that expense.
I have a ridiculous question.
Do those cars come with the outfit for the light bars and everything else, or we have to?
That's all part of the upfitting. The upfittings now are almost $14,000 in themselves with equipment and upfitting.
There's 13 gauge lights.
Gauge, yeah, light bar and everything. Yeah, we actually, some of them don't even come with spotlights anymore. All police cars used to have the spotlights on the side. So I budgeted for one in my upfitting last year, and then our car came through with one, which was kind of unusual compared to what my colleagues were getting. But what was nice was our F-150 didn't have a spotlight, so I took that money and applied it to the F-150, so we have a remote spotlight now in the F-150. So we just reappropriated it. What was your question, Alan?
I thought we got rid of the dry cleaning in the last CBA.
Still there?
Still there?
Yeah. And nobody really uses it, but since it's there, I gotta put something in there. Ultimately, if the guys wanted to, technically, there are suits they wear to court, they could take, but our uniforms are not dry clean uniforms.
And then we have the 413s, is the gray too.
So that's the expense side of the 362,440, which we have coming in about 20 to 30,000. You can see what we've paid out about 27,000. We'll have better numbers once we have more, actuals at the end of the year.
Page 8.
Again, that has to do with the due from third party. The reimbursable lines.
We skip over the fire company issues on page 7. Is that where that is?
I didn't think we were there yet, Tim.
Yeah, that's what we just did, the 413,099. The sewage
No, on
permits.
page 7.
The fire is page 7.
Did we skip over page 7?
We're on 7, I'd ask if there's anything else on page 7.
What are we thinking about the fire company issues? There's been discussions, if you will. We've had a public meeting that you fellas seem to want to go into executive session, and I don't like that as it relates to the fire companies, or as it relates for inappropriate issues. So
I think the answer is pretty simple. If we don't get what we need from the fire company as far as reports and information, we just don't give our contribution.
Well, I'm not talking about reports and information now, I'm talking about, apparently there's an issue with making the calls. So I'm not interested in reports that are not necessarily reflective of what's happening. I went to a call at, 4 AM in Coombe Township, right on the Robeson border last week. Spoke to the Coombe room, watched that unfold for a fire, non-fire, if you will. And then there's a concern that we're not making, and that goes for both fire companies, that we're not making as many calls as we should.
But the reports, depict what calls they're being sent to and whether or not they respond and how quickly they respond. So the reports are important.
Depends on run cards too, like we're not, Baggertown's not called into Cooper Group.
Right.
You know what I mean, just based off where they're at.
Yeah, and the punishment is, we just don't give them their contribution.
They're funded. We just gotta make sure that that's known up front.
Well, again,
It doesn't help you get people.
we're hung up on the money issues, not the service issues. I think this board needs to look at that.
From both, from the budget standpoint, if this is the budget issue, that's another issue we talked about and stuff, but.
No, it's not. I know what he's talking about, at least I think I do, I think I know what Tim's referring to. If you wanna get people out during the day, the only way you're probably going to get them is pay them something. And if there's nothing in the budget to pay people to come out and fill in during the day when everybody's working, you're gonna have to come up with something someplace.
And the experience, Galen, in all the townships, by my research, is when you create paid positions, the volunteer basically stops. It stops because people say, why should I volunteer when you're
It
paid?
does hurt, but a lot of companies like Burnsboro's been doing it for years. They have a paid driver on during the day, and, volunteers fill in wherever and whenever. And Occasy's been doing it for years. Exeter's been doing it, although Exeter has, I understand, has increased what they've been spending in recent years. I'm not 100% certain, I haven't talked to Gil over there or somebody to see what's what.
Yeah, I think, Exeter's fire budget's over $1 million right now.
But I believe.
In my opinion, we have a problem, gentlemen.
Timothy, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just stating my point.
Oh, I
If
think,
you do something about it, you're gonna have to spend
Well,
money.
I think the problem is we kick the can down the road, not just on this problem, on any problems, on many problems.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
Now, do you wanna change any of these numbers on here for anything, add something, add another line item, or get rid of, decrease the amount of anything, or do we?
I think what you should do is look at the way Amity Township's doing it. They're probably a good example. You can check with Union Township and Birdsboro Borough also. See how they're handling the issue.
Well, if we're not gonna change anything up there.
With every company, they probably.
Anything else on 7 or 8? And then, so on 9, there was no new gray areas after our last meeting. And then, 10 and 11. So what's everybody's thought process on the whole final few lines down there, and towards page 11?
I just wanted to ask a question on page 8. We had a salary in there for public works superintendent. Tim, I want you to look at that figure, if you would please.
Say that again.
It's on page 8, and it's line item 430.50. Want you to look at it and hear what your feelings are.
You're asking me to look at 430,
4050.
430.50. 0.050. Public Works Superintendent salary.
That's the position that we have open, right?
Yes,
And we've discussed that number needs to be in the low 90s, is that correct?
Well, that's my question, that's
you
what I
were supposed to
brought it
find the answer to that.
Right. Right.
up. I
Well,
just
just because we budget doesn't mean that necessarily that position's filled, so I'd make that number 92.5.
Yeah, I can't go with that. I'm not budgeting a public works director for more than I'm paying the assistant manager or the manager.
Well, the manager gets 100,000.
No, the manager's salary's at 77,000.
Right, well, the manager total cost was over 100,000, and with the job that this board and previous boards has done on the roads, the lack of supervision, I think particularly if that person is able to do and fill more roles than has historically been, meaning being able to work on equipment, being able to plow roads as opposed to what that disaster we had, this board is short-sighted and frankly foolish. That's my opinion. You get what you pay for at times, gentlemen, and as I said at the outside of this, not only have we handed out raises, spent money foolishly in the last year, 2 years, now when we have a chance to at least budget for an item and recruit for somebody to do the job here, we bury our heads in the sand and the people of the township are not getting a fair shake. That's my position.
All right, Gail, and, you know, Harold said no to the 92.5. What is your thoughts on 92.5?
You know, I didn't know if that was a no.
I don't know for me.
No, I just asked his opinion.
Oh, I thought you said,
No, I said Harold said no. And what's Gail?
That's right. I don't think it's out of line, depending on what duties you give the man. If we had talked about also having him help out, as an assistant to the manager, basically. We had a position in there for an additional person, I forget, it's back in the beginning of the budget. Where's it at?
Yeah, the assistant manager,
we don't have anything in the
Yeah,
budget.
it's just, we have assistant manager in here for,
We don't have anything in the budget for our existing manager should he return.
It's in there.
Pardon me?
The current manager's salary and stuff is still in there.
Meaning our
Yes.
current manager that's on disability, or that's not
Correct,
with us.
his numbers are still in there.
Okay.
oh, that's the first numbers, and then his numbers, the second one, really, the assistant number, okay. All right, just so I know what that is, that clarifies that in my mind, anyway.
Jeff, what do you think then for this number for the 430.0?
I mean, I don't think that, the 92 number would be totally out of line depending on what that person's doing. However, I would like to see how, with Rich, you know, here, the interim manager, how that plays out with the public works and.
Well, they gotta work together, there's
Right,
no offense,
right,
Russ, and I'm
and
sure
how
Rich
that
realizes
gets-
that fully too. You know, everybody has things you can do and can't do, if you got somebody who's good at one thing, you share that.
Well, I think the other thing we'd have to look into, and I don't know or understand all the union rules at this point for their collective bargaining agreement. However, if you're budgeting for a road supervisor, they may not be able to operate equipment under a collective bargaining agreement, so we need to be very, very careful with that.
I agree.
So again, I think we have some discovery that needs to be accomplished here before we set that. I think 65 is in a good range at this point. Barry's, from my initial observations, he's handling many of those responsibilities as the crew leader. Seem to be doing all right with that. Again, there's gonna be time here that we're gonna have to step back and review and look at that. This is certainly something that we could relook as we get into the new year, and go from there, if that's okay with everybody. Again, I'd like to see what the collective bargaining agreement allows us to do.
In the past, we've worked with them and they've allowed that, and I believe that would be continued.
Okay.
But regardless of that, I'm not sure I share your opinion as it relates to Barry and the supervision that the road crew needs. I think they're doing as good a job as they can, but, I think they need supervision, and in my scope and my idea of what a manager should do, I don't think you're gonna have that time, you know, to be as involved as, you know, I think really needs to be done, particularly with the state of disrepair.
Did you have, we had been talking about an executive, do you have another discussion with him?
That's the next question then. I don't think we've changed the amount of money you have budgeted for road asphalt work. I don't think that's changed since probably maybe 2007, something like that.
At our next budget meeting, what I'd like to do, at our next workshop session, ask our engineer for a review of the road improvement schedule, paving, if he's scheduling. I'd like to see that accelerated. So I'm not ready to act on this budget tonight, so we have those
I
discussions.
think we're saying the same thing, Tim.
Right.
So, according to his last report at the last meeting, we're doing 5 miles of golf course with Township. And then we're doing, and I think it's another 4 miles of road repair and
Overlay?
overlay.
No, that's 9. You're still, you know, you gotta be up about 11 to actually be doing one road every 7 years. But, at least you're stepping forward at that. We have not made 10 any time that I know of since I've been back in office.
Yeah, so, we're also doing the bridges here, so.
Oh, yeah, I understand that, and that's, that bridge money was pulled out of something over the year to emulate what we had in there to do bridges. And we may as well, I would personally recommend that we keep moving money into that fund for bridges, because we keep getting crap on the one up here in Old River Road. Sooner or later, we're gonna have to do something with that one.
It's in here.
And the one at, on Gunhart Road, that old,
The Gunhart one makes me nervous.
yes, that's.
There's a lot of heavy vehicles going across
Yes,
that.
it's old, it's old concrete. If you look at the sidewalls on it, the concrete's deteriorating prodigiously.
Well,
So there's,
well, see, that kind of intertwines them page 10 and 11 anyway, because if the thought is you can do more roads, obviously you need more money, which then, are you saying raise taxes and put it towards more roads?
I'm not saying anything, because I'm not gonna be in office.
You're voting on stuff now.
But I am informing everybody that's going to be here and continue on, that you've got that to look forward to.
Well,
And
that's been what everybody's had
that's
looked
something
forward
you
to
should think
for,
about, and that's,
and I said this before, that's been a decade's
you know,
dilemma.
I don't wanna leave you with a budget that's got you hanging short if it's something you wanna do. Anyway. Self-understood?
Oh, I know, I gave the same speech before, I had, I guess, Billy, I don't know how many years ago, I had to figure out how many roads Robeson had in 1980.
Yep.
At that point, it was about 50. And because recently, in the last decade, we started to do that 5-8 miles, a year. If someone would have actually thought something in 1980, and you did 5 miles a year, you would have been done every 10 years, and then all the new roads from the development would have been done, and you would be caught up right now. But
Wow.
because we are now 40 years behind, and our money is not growing on trees, we
Certainly isn't.
we can put more into money, more money into the roads, but the only way to do that is to raise taxes, and that's.
Or to cut expenses and become more efficient, and to
But
not make,
that's what-
not make what I consider foolish
Well,
moves.
that's what we're here for, what item do you think we could
How
cut
do you,
back?
how do you cut expenses with adding $95,000 salary to supervise 5 guys?
Harold, do you believe that that person might be able to have some ability to assist with grant writing? Do you believe that there's efficiencies instead of running multiple road workers here and there. Instead of having our staff go to our solicitor, it's not a single line item, it's a way of doing business that's inefficient at this township. It's not a single item, it's firing a guy and paying $100 and some thousand to hire him back. Really?
Okay.
Taking ARPA money and paying people that already have it, really?
Well, okay.
And that's $250,000 there, that's real money, Harold, real money. That's not guesswork.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with this budget and moving forward. So if you're gonna cut expenses, you don't start cutting expenses by adding more salaries.
I guess we have a difference of opinion.
Well, the question is, would you want to add stuff to the road budget?
That's the question.
And the answer to the question is, what's everybody's answer? If the answer is yes, then you have to raise taxes. If the answer is no, we're doing 9 miles or whatever's been doing 2024.
9 miles is the best we've ever done. If we get 9 miles done, it's the best we've ever accomplished in a year.
Well, that's close, because I think a couple years ago you did 7, 8, 9. I'd have, I have to look back at all that stuff.
When I got reelected, we were doing 1 mile a year. That's 18 years ago.
No, but it was right towards the end of the time. It was when we started to do 7 or 8 or whatever.
When I know he was here, we were doing more. The money was all spent and everything else, and we were only using the liquid fuels. A couple things, how we go more liquid fuels in for one thing, and we budgeted that $500,000 a year for road work.
So how much surplus do we have as proposed here if we're looking at page 11?
We're in the hole.
Yeah. So
I'm talking about a carryover, how much money is in the bank?
Well, the carryover is kind of misleading,
Well, that's why I'm asking the question.
because the monies belong to a bunch of different sources.
Earmarked.
Do we have a breakdown of that?
I don't, I have a
Earmark?
breakdown right here in front of me.
On page 11, there says Rock Hollow Bridge, 600,000, which we set aside, but ARPA was 825 to what was that towards, Howard?
Well, we were gonna take some money for the bridge and, the Green Hills project and the balance going to the truck.
537.
Let's take a look at that at our next workshop meeting.
You know, so if you're taking money out of ARPA to do the bridge, it would afford you the opportunity to take in some of the bridge money and putting it on the road.
Correct.
But you would have to have a plan to do that.
Well, that bridge money, I believe we were adding, correct me if I'm wrong, Sheila, $125,000 a year we put transfer.
Yes, so we're at 500,000 that we put aside. We have not put 125,000 in this year, but we budgeted for it. To answer Mr. Bittler's question, we have 2 million to carry over. However, depending on how you've earmarked certain things, we'll decide if you need to
That's
spend
what I'm asking
some of
for,
that.
what are the earmarks, and earmarks can be changed. We all, drive over the roads, just because it's earmarked doesn't mean, I feel that we've gone down the road sometimes and we just kind of repeat what we've done.
I think we're in better shape than we were. What we've gotten done has been done for the most part.
With a $6 million budget, what is the required carryover?
I don't think there's a requirement.
What is the required carryover?
It was
There's a required,
It was the percent, I heard the percentage.
Yeah, I thought it was like a third of your budget.
I don't know if
think
it
it's
was required
10%.
recommendation, but
might be as low as 10%.
Because, it's all based on the fact that you're not having any revenue until spring.
Yeah, I don't have
I
a-
remember Danell telling us that, and I can't remember the number. But you're correct, there is a percentage.
But I'm not opposed to throwing more money at the roads, I think we need to know what that looks like, what's it gonna be the plan, and what roads are we gonna do it for?
Oh, Sheila, isn't this page
That's for
two?
the millage, yes.
Yeah, but isn't this page 2 and 3 that answer? You have to require 10% of revenues. Scenario 1, 2, and down to the whole 10% of revenue. What we need.
I didn't grab my copy, I had handed it out the last meeting. So you're looking at it, you have your copy, Jim?
I wasn't here last meeting.
What is the first one?
Oh.
It seems to me there's another part of the formula besides the
Yeah, I
10%.
don't remember what it is, but
Yeah, I don't think it was on there that told you what you were required to carry over. I don't recall that.
Oh, no, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we used to
We-
worry
we-
about that.
I know, but I don't think it's included in that.
Oh,
The one page shows you including,
The lady that's helping us from, the accountant's office, would she happen to know that lady?
say that again?
The lady that's helping us from the accountant's.
She'll be in tomorrow, already wrote it down, the percentage required to carry over.
Yeah,
or a smart, yeah, 'cause I don't know if it's a requirement, I know there's a smart estimate of what number you should have, and I know when the note said on that, we always met the criteria.
right.
You might feel we were in good shape, but I don't know exactly what it was.
Might be able to get through PSATs too if you pull it off.
Alright, Rich and I are working on tomorrow.
I was gonna say, so I'm just looking at PA code now, so I'm not seeing anything in PA code.
I think it was just an accountant,
I-
smart thing to do.
I would say, I mean, when you're looking at, if your first
There's 3 months.
payments for taxes are coming in during the April-May timeframe, you're gonna want 1/4 of your,
15 months, yeah.
essentially, that's when you look at it, 1/4 of an annual.
I think
So
it
I would
was-
say 25% would be a smart move on our part, whether or not there's a requirement there, that would be our smart. Because then you start to have revenue from your taxes coming in,
Because at
so.
the beginning of the year, just paying out, there's very little coming in.
I thought it was a DCED requirement.
Required
It could
10% of revenues.
All right, so 10%
So
of
this on
revenues.
there?
This is something from a prior year's budget that they all
Okay.
prepared.
Well,
So
that-
in hers, it has required 10% of revenues. Do we have 10% of revenues? Yes.
No, yes, so it would be,
Well, yeah, that's actually on here, that scenario.
Yeah,
one,
that's
too.
stuff that we have, yeah.
Well, now, so what's everybody's pleasure here? If we're thinking maybe more road stuff and moving things around, you could, for example,
I guess a question we have to ask is if we spend ARPA money on roads, do we have to do prevailing wage? Because non-prevailing wage road money goes a lot further.
Well, how much different is the rate that we're paying our people through their union versus whatever prevailing wages to have somebody come in, Kensington Cable House, whoever come in and overlay a road?
Well, you're gonna pay considerably more. You probably making twice, because the prevailing wage is that of Philadelphia.
I know there was a lot of squabble somewhere along the line a couple of years ago, I read it in Township News where they were picking on municipalities that were doing work in-house versus instead of bidding it out through the union installation.
I'm
But
almost,
we've been able to fly.
almost sure when we did Cold Run Road, that was, almost double from non-prevailing wage.
Yeah, well, I was like, you did the sewer, you had to bid it right out of wage.
Well, no, it was done by the water company, so we did not have to do prevailing wage.
now, with the budget, and just other timelines, if we're gonna try to finagle something like that, you got the workshop, you got the regular meeting is the 3rd Tuesday, that's the 21st. We don't have any more scheduled budget meetings, because we can discuss it in the workshop or the regular meeting, and it does have to be advertised for 30 days.
One thing you could do, it might help, would be to ask Barry how much additional asphalt, if any, you would think our crew could like in-house.
So if we go as far as the 21st, and it's advertised on Wednesday, now, if you do 30 days, you count you couldn't advertise it the 22nd, you'd have to advertise the 23rd. So if you do 30 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 30 days is December 31st, which means our meetings for the month are over, so we would actually have to schedule a separate special meeting the last week of the year to adopt it, if we don't do anything by the workshop. Just so we know that.
When's the workshop?
The 9th. The second Tuesday or Thursday would be November 9th, so you got November 9th, and then the third Tuesday is the 21st, it's one of those weird months.
We skip a week.
Yeah, so then if we would adopt it on the 21st with whatever changes we might wanna make, we do that, but then the paper gets the information Wednesday for Thursday, and then that puts you,
Well, why can't we just set the goal to have everything done by the workshop,
well,
and we pass it and move on?
yes, that's what I'm trying to get at, cause I'm sure no one wants to do a special meeting on December 26th, 27th, 28th, and 29th.
We've done it before,
We've done it
but
before.
it's not ideal.
That's not what I'm sure we want to do, but that's my, so if we can somehow, whatever information everybody wants, right, for whatever road stuff, and then if we can get.
I think the road thing is the only thing left
Yeah,
out
that's the
there.
thing, if we wanna figure that out, move things around, with potentially not raising taxes or raising taxes, do that by the workshop. Otherwise,
Talk about it at the workshop.
there's gotta be
Information.
information.
I guess we try to make sure the workshop's advertised for budget also.
Well, can we just add it, does it have to?
We can just add to the agenda.
Yeah, just add to the agenda, yeah.
We wouldn't have to advertise it.
Yeah, because it's a regular scheduled meeting, it would be part of the agenda.
Part of the agenda item.
Okay. I mean, do we need to talk to Ryan beforehand on any of the road stuff, or? I mean, what?
I think we should figure out, first off, what our road schedule says should be done next,
Right.
beyond what they've already got
And
scheduled.
he has that tentative stuff, he gave us the stuff months ago that had a whole thing.
He
in it.
did, but we're talking
And then
about
he,
after that.
yeah, but he's consolidated it, but if you expand his original thing.
Yeah.
He already has a plan,
So let's look at that on the workshop.
we have to get him,
Well,
we have to look at old emails, it's because the original one's somewhere in one of those emails
Yeah.
that he's revised.
But I'm almost sure that with the amount of work that the road crew has planned for them to do themselves next year, that they're pretty much maxed out.
I don't know, that's what I say, you talk to Barry and get his opinion, that we know where he's coming from, and if you can't
Now-
do that,
One thing will help, if we get our bids out in January for, Township, and, we'll be that much further ahead, it's gonna put them in the accelerated mode to get roads done so that they can Township them. But,
how many miles do we lay this year?
I don't know, but,
That could be over 10% savings, is it not? By getting our bids out on time?
oh, yes, absolutely.
Put that on your
Or
to-do
more.
list in years to come.
Oh, yeah,
That's a minimum 10%.
Yeah, or more, yeah.
yeah, so, yeah, it's significant.
Significant savings.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was, but something's batting around in my head, that, like, a mile of paving ran about $100,000, more or less.
Somebody had a paper that had something, somewhere there's a paper.
Not oil and chip, I'm speaking overlay now.
Yeah, somebody had that.
Well, but they should pretty much know from Gunhart now, they didn't do a mile of Gunhart.
No, they didn't.
But what they did out there looked nice.
Yeah, and that was more than just an overlay.
Right, they widened it,
And they put base in it, with a whole bunch of work that was necessary to do there, and that's probably one of the last roads we have that's in that condition. The other one's gonna be, I think that, what's his name, the developer, out on Furnace Road. What's that called?
Oak Grove?
Yes, Oak Grove. I think they're supposed to pave Oak Grove Road as part of their,
Oh, Old Oak Grove.
Old Oak Grove Road, yeah, and that one's really narrow, it's like 12 feet or something like that, and it's a dead end, and there's no cul-de-sac on the end of it. But supposedly, it's gonna hook up to the cul-de-sac on the other side that the guys can get through to plow snow.
Well, right now, that road's a problem, we got a call the other day that there's tractor trailers going up that road. There's
Where we're going.
three lots up there that have put their driveways down on Oak Grove, Old Oak Grove. They're flag lots or something, so they're cutting in that way. Somebody actually took our sign and added their address to it.
Address to the sign.
That's interesting.
So, I did call Gary McEwen, but he's not returned my call.
Oh, imagine
Yeah,
that.
sorry, none of you have reached.
Well, he didn't do that, the individual
Well,
property.
when I did talk to him, he said he was gonna go out and check it out, but I've not heard back from him.
So this road question is our main question.
I think that's our big
What
question.
about the
No, that's not the only question.
road supervisor?
Big question I had with Oak Grove Road, the reason I brought it
Right,
up,
I mean, that's
the
number
road
one.
has to be 16 feet wide.
Yeah, I think those are the two.
I was gonna say those are two big ones, unless you tweak something here and there, but like, contract negotiation, police might change something.
Well, I guess the other question you need to answer is if you're gonna bump that salary to 95 or not.
Well, that's, I said, that's the two things.
And then it's not 95, it's the bennies that gotta be added into that as well.
I thought Tim said 92.5, but.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the, one of the issues, the road stuff's the other issues, other things might be tweaked a little bit. Do you think it's doable by the workshop?
Well, there's only a couple things, I mean,
But that doesn't mean, is it doable by the workshop?
well, if we make sure that we change it, it will be.
Yes. And so, well, the superintendent thing is, I think that's still a matter of what we think there.
I think, can somebody put a call into Ryan and ask him what he estimates for a mile of road resurfacing, what it would run, what you get, just for budget purposes?
And
That's
if we
what
can-
I'm trying to say.
yeah, we gotta track down his initial
Yeah,
email.
he sent it, yeah.
Yeah, that initial email from 5 months ago or something, whatever.
He sent it and then he condensed it, right?
Yeah.
So-
Stay within our costs.
Yeah, to stay within the budget.
Yeah, so he has a further.
Right, so he has one that's expanded, we just have to look at that and see what
Yeah, see what
the
it is,
difference is.
but I don't know what asphalt
Yeah, that
prices
would be,
change everything.
well, the two questions would be what's per mile and then just get his original big
Right,
thing.
Right,
and
just to see if you wanna add a mile or do whatever, cut a mile, whatever you decide you wanna do with it. That's, it's just getting the data that you can make a reasonable decision.
Alright, so that's our homework. And anything else? Do we need an executive session or are we alright?
That's the only two issues that
We don't need an executive. I mean, you got-
We always need an executive.
Well, we need the executive board.
It's 8 o'clock.
No, what?
Well, it's 8 o'clock. Don't you wanna be out of here by 8 o'clock?
I do.
So we don't need an executive then, right?
I don't think we do.
We just have.
I'm just throwing these away. I'll make a motion to adjourn then.
Well, wait, I got a question here. I sent out I sent out the nuisance ordinance. I've got comments back from two people. I wanna know whether we should send it on to the solicitor or,
Can't that wait till the workshop? You're talking about the noise ordinance?
no, it's
The
not,
one
it's
that
nuisance.
the one that they came about, the,
Yeah, I've got some concerns on that. I'm certainly not gonna act on that.
Well, you didn't send any comments back.
Why? Now, Harold, I mean this respectfully. Sometimes I think your expectation of comments back is,
Unrealistic?
well, it's a little unrealistic. It's so much so that I think I'm gonna spring for a cot for you in the municipal building. No, what? A cot, so that we can, a camp out in the municipal building.
What line
Someone
item?
actually
What
asked me
line- what
if
line
you were
item
the
is
manager.
what line
I
item?
got that question last week.
What line item would that be? The cot.
Cot.
What line item?
Miscellaneous.
I don't know anything on this.
We'll have room for ladies speaking now.
I'll make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second the motion.
At 8 o'clock, all in favor?
go.
Baseball a lot.
How's anything, everyone?
Oh, yeah. Philadelphia sports. Be prepared for disaster. Yeah, this is what I said was gonna happen. I said there's a bunch of patients. They're gonna make it to the World Series, but then they're gonna lose to Texas.